Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, I am kicking off a series that I have been designing and planning for the last couple of years. And obviously with recent developments in the last year or so, the way in which I had initially envisioned this is very different. But I think that's also bred new opportunities, and as you'll see in today's video, I'm able to connect with people who are geographically nowhere near me, which I think is a really exciting prospect. Welcome to Window Seat. This is a window seat into the lives and the ideas of creatives from around the world, and I'm really excited to say that our first guest is a photographer that a lot of you might already know. He is a photographer from LA, and he also runs a YouTube channel as well. I'm sure you already follow, but if you don't already follow Mike Gray, I will link him in the description. A big shout out to Mike for sitting down and being the first guest on Window Seat. I'm really excited to get stuck in. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's been a little bit difficult trying to find like a time with like the different time zones and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm glad we figured it out and made it work though. It's a long time coming.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How's everything been on your side? How's the world over there and in this climate right now? Are things getting better now?
I don't know. Like, we're coming out of lockdown like slowly and going into kind of like a more relaxed kind of lockdown. Whether or not that means we're actually out of it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I guess time will only tell. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, things are really opening up out here. I mean, everything's pretty much open now. So, the good thing is a lot of everyone for the most part is getting vaccinated. So, we'll see what happens, but yeah, it's pretty much open out here.
Yeah, it's a strange time. It's a crazy time. We just had like our first little bit of sun of the year. And I say that, and I don't know like how hot it is for you, but for us it was like, so 18 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. And everyone is out, like it's swarming everywhere. It's crazy. It's meant to snow next week though, so we'll see.
Oh,
We'll
wow. See,
see.
it's like 85 right now. I have the blinds closed because I didn't want to make you too jealous with the sunlight. So I closed the blinds. But yeah, it's pretty hot out here now. It's getting hot.
Yeah, no, I'm very envious. I was literally talking about it the other day. Like, I'm just so fed up with the weather here. Have you been? You've been to the UK?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about then.
Yes. It's always really gloomy out there.
Yeah.
But I like that weather sometimes. Like it's nice. But I'm sure that you want sunshine.
So where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Dallas, Dallas, Texas. So I was born and raised in Houston, and then when I was 9, me and my family moved to Dallas, and I graduated high school, stayed there, and then I moved to LA in 2010. So I moved to LA when I was 17, 3 weeks after I graduated high school, which was crazy, but yeah. So I mean, LA is basically home for me now,
Yeah.
which is odd, but yeah, I go back home pretty often.
And like you moved over for acting, am I right? Or was there like
Yeah,
another?
yeah. So I moved. I wanted to just move out here and just start acting and auditioning, but my mom kind of forced me to go to college, and I moved out here and I went to college. I went to a performing arts college here for 3.5 years, and yeah, so I stayed, and acting was what brought me out here. So I've been acting since 2000. I mean, professionally, I'd say like 2013 is when I really started when I booked my first like TV job. But acting is something that I've been in love with since I was young.
And you're still acting now?
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still
How is
acting
it?
now.
How is
It's
it with
it's
like COVID and everything?
it's different because the audition process is a bit different. So before, we would go into rooms and you would audition at an office, and it's different because it's a lot more personable and you're able to physically be in the room and like feel the person's energy. And it's just, I feel like that's where I thrived. But now everything is over Zoom, and or it's a self tape. So I'll like set my camera up and I'll have my lights, and you'll just film the audition yourself and then email it to them. So it's a totally different world. And I think it's going to stay this way for a
Yeah.
while. So I feel like essentially it makes the competition a bit harder because you're not able to physically be in the room with the casting director. So it's like, oh, wow, that was intense. I live next to a freeway. So unfortunately, I should have thought about that before I moved here. But yeah, so essentially for me, I think that it makes the process harder, but it's cool because you're able to do everything from home.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like that's kind of been that adjustment period. Once you're kind of adjusted to the new way of things working, is
Yeah.
almost like being able to do everything from home is almost a bit of a blessing, dare I
Yeah.
say it?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree 100%.
So
Are
I,
you
what were you saying?
for I was going to ask you how long have you been doing photography, and like is photography something that you've always, been in love with, or is this kind of like something that you dove into later on in life?
Yeah, no, I've been doing photography for about 6 years. I actually studied in graphic design, so that's my
Oh,
like
nice.
education. My educational background is graphic design. And when I was at college, I kind of got college. Obviously, is different for us to how it is for you. So
Yeah.
yeah, we have like school, and then we have college, then we have uni, and
Okay,
uni is
okay.
like your college. But
Yeah.
yeah, so when I was at college, I got into photography just through my design work. And
Hmm.
then when I moved to uni, I started doing photography professionally to support myself through uni. And then when
Wow.
I finished uni, I was able to go full time. It was a blessing, but yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been a fan of your work for a long time. I was looking at like the questions, and it's funny because like you, Willem, and like Volandis were like the first photographers that I started watching when I was like inspired to like buy my first camera. So yeah, I mean this is dope to be like chatting with you right now, because
Oh, that's crazy.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. And it's cool also, like, not to like go into it, but like, yeah, you were like the first female photographer that I found and that I was like watching, and I learned so much from your work. And yeah, I'm a big fan. So like, yeah, I appreciate you for having me on here.
Oh no, that's crazy for me to hear because I definitely feel like, especially when it comes to film photography, you are just, miles ahead of me. Like for me, it's
Nah.
still very much like a trial and error kind of situation, as you could probably
Mhm.
tell from my channel. Um,
Nah.
but yeah, so talking about like getting into photography and stuff like that, was it film photography that you got into? Like, did you just get into film photography, or was there a process of digital before that?
Honestly, film photography was the first form of photography I got into. Only because I've just always been a fan of the look on like Instagram, and like even before I've just always enjoyed the film look. And I was just bored out of my mind during quarantine, and I got inspired to just start watching videos on YouTube, and then everybody was shooting with the Mamiya RB67, which kind of inspired me to purchase it. And at the time, the first film camera I bought was a Minolta X700, which is like a small SLR 35 millimeter camera. And a lot of like the protests and stuff were going on out here. So I was able to like practice, but also document that. And yeah, it was just a format where I knew that I had the time to learn because I had nothing else to do. I was kind of in an artistic rut because, being locked down, I really didn't have the avenue to be creative as an artist. And I was super uninspired by that. And I knew that photography would bring me joy also because it would like take me out of the spotlight and like allow me to focus on others. So it was something that I was super interested in getting into, and just the process of film, the process from like beginning to end was something that like I just really was super hyped about learning.
Yeah, I guess naturally my question here is, how does it differ being on this side of the camera now, like being behind the camera, opposed to like you being used to being in front of the camera?
It's it's different. It's also really cool because you see a lot of similarities in both. And for me, I think that when I was in front of the camera, I really didn't know how to maneuver, in a sense of like being behind the camera. You're able to frame compositions. You're able to see what looks good visually, and in that sense it helps me as an actor because I'm able to know, okay, what side, what's my best profile, like what looks
Yeah.
best, you know. And it's great because for me, a lot of my favorite directors in photography, I was going to say, like, photography for me has also like ventured me to want to like direct and be more of a all around creator, which is amazing because a lot of my favorite directors I didn't know were photographers beforehand. So I think that it's such an amazing avenue. And as an actor, it's just awesome because even though it's not acting that I'm directing at the moment, I'm able to know how, I'm learning how to direct an actor. I'm learning how to, just frame different things. And I feel like that's super important and vital in this industry that I'm in. And yeah, it's such a great medium. Like, I never thought that I would fall in love with photography the way I have, but I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like there is that thing of like if you're comfortable in front of the camera and you know how you would act and what you kind of wish people who are directing you would tell you, then you can kind of translate that when you're directing models and stuff like that. And I guess
Absolutely.
vice versa as well, it probably makes you more like better in front of the camera because you kind of know the thought process of what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So how would you kind of like describe your work? Because you do a little bit of everything. You do a bit of documentary, you do portraits, you kind of do everything.
It's it's crazy because I think that that's a tough one. So for me, it's like a mix between documentary and just super conceptual. So like for me, the pieces that I enjoy the most are like period pieces. That's like what has resonated with me since I was a kid. Like I've always enjoyed old movies from like the 60s and 70s. I've always enjoyed the works of different photographers that were able to document life back in those days. And I think that that's the biggest influence in my work because it's just something that I enjoy about, you know, coming up with a concept and like creating the world around them, which is hard when like financially, you're still trying to like get ahead. But because it does, in a sense, like for certain things, it can become like it's kind of costly. But I think that, you know, because life was so different for African Americans as well back in those days, I think that's kind of been the rooted inspiration for me to like highlight, my people in the best way I can in those time periods. So I'd say, documentary is more so like the route that I want to go in the future. But just overall, it's been hard. It's something that I'm still trying to figure out, being like kind of a newcomer. Like I'm just really testing out different things. But yeah, I think just documentary slash like super conceptual period pieces is kind of my niche right now.
Yeah, I get what you mean about like testing things out. I think regardless of whether or not you're kind of new to the craft, that's always something that as creatives we do. We like to kind of, like dabble in everything
Yeah,
and experiment. And I think that's important as well because it means that like your creativity, it's not getting stagnant. And yeah,
absolutely.
I think it's good to not kind of like block yourself off as just
Hmm.
this or just that and kind of say that you can do a bit of everything. That's a good thing for sure.
Absolutely.
So this kind of leads pretty well onto this, but when it comes to like authenticity in portraiture and stuff like that, I think that's something that you do really well. How do you go about that? Is it just trying to capture people in their candid moments, or are you asking them to do something to bring that out in them?
It's um so for me, first off, capturing the eyes is so important, and I feel like the eyes tell so much of a story in a lot of situations. And it's funny because I did a video where I did like this 30-second portrait challenge, and I was super adamant about the model like taking off his sunglasses, and a lot of people were like, why were you so worried about that? Like that took up half your time. And for me, it's cool, like the sunglasses is a great component for certain things, but in my line of work, like I really just like to capture like the raw emotion of somebody's face, and just somebody's vibe and aura. And I think acting has a big influence on that, because you know before we are even hired in a job, our agents have to send a headshot, and in your headshot, like all of the emotion is in the eyes. And I feel like that's such an important component for me in portraiture, to capture, as well as like, it's hard because for me, I try to be as spontaneous as I can, but in a lot of my the majority of my images are like posed, I should say. And I just feel like making sure that the model is super comfortable and having that chemistry beforehand will give me the most authentic result. So like, in my videos, I really try to just like push the shoot forward with conversation and try to make everything as relatable as I possibly can. And then everything else is pretty secondary, like the wardrobe and like the location to fit the authenticity of the portraiture, I feel like is more secondary. But like for me, honestly, it's the eyes, and making sure that the model is comfortable. And I feel like when I do that, I get the most authentic results in my work.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think you can see that, and I'd agree. I think eyes are very important, and you can tell a lot from someone's eyes. I think that's very important in portraiture. I also find like hands, it can kind of create like a little bit of intimacy and
Hmm.
almost like connect the audience a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's cool because hands is it's something that I'm still trying to get comfortable with, because either it looks, when you're doing a super extreme up close portrait and you use hands, either it looks really really good, or if you really aren't too experienced with like figuring out what hand movements like look well, then it can look very very bad. And like for me, it either works or it doesn't. So like, that's one thing about your work that I love, is that you use a lot of hands, but it looks so well in the composition, and like just the way, like certain ways that you pose the hands on the face is just, I don't know, it's I don't ever think of doing it like that. And it looks, I feel like in person it may feel unnatural, especially for the model, but visually it just comes across so authentic. And it's a component in your work that I feel like you've kind of mastered, because it's hard. I mean, the hands on the face is very, I don't know, it's tough. It is tough.
Oh, thank you. No, I just kind of ask people to, I always think that sometimes if you're shooting something, especially if it's like a mid shot
Hmm.
and there's no hands, it almost looks as though, and I know this is going to sound weird, but it almost looks like they're just kind of floating and like have no limbs.
100%.
Um, so I just try to get them to bring their hands into frame, whether that's kind of like leaning on their hand,
Mm.
or a big one with men is like bringing your hand to like the back of your neck or
Yep.
something like that.
Yeah.
And I think every model kind of does that in their own way, and that kind of, how they interpret direction sometimes is what makes a photo more unique,
Right.
because you could give, the same direction to two different models, and the way they interpret that is going to be a little bit different.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
You touched on your YouTube, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and creating videos and your 30-second portrait challenge, which is on your channel. But what kind of spurred you on to start creating content for YouTube?
For me, so after I had started doing photography, I was just in a rut because I honestly wasn't getting the traction and the eyeballs on my work that I really wanted to. And I felt like, you know, I had my friends on my personal Instagram who would support, not all of them, but some of them. And it was really just the same people viewing my work every time I'd post, which is cool. But I kind of wanted to just reach a wider audience, and I wanted to, you know, have a platform that I can, you know, produce and create work that I wanted to. And I remember I was talking to my mentor and he was like, just go for it. Like, I mean, if it's something you want to do, like do it. And I didn't have a camera, like I didn't have a video camera. So I like invested in a video camera and like all these different things. And I feel like YouTube is such a great platform for any creator because it allows you to connect with, first off, it allows you to connect with other creators, and it's just a platform where anybody can come across your work at any time. And and that's what I wanted. And you know, YouTube is essentially like I mean, it changed the game for me. It essentially like changed my life because not only like is it a platform where I'm able to create these, you know, cool videos, but it's opened my eyes and expanded my mind, I'm sorry, to, you know, diving into other avenues for my channel. And if you are a creative, it's crazy because in the acting world, it's kind of like, well, now I'd say now a lot of people on YouTube are being given opportunities because of their platform and because of the leverage they have from these large audiences that they accumulate. Because at the end of the day, like these networks want eyeballs on their shows. But before, honestly, like 2 years ago, if you wanted to be taken serious as an entertainer and an actor, it kind of was like frowned upon to have a YouTube channel, which is odd. But and that's honestly something that kind of pigeonholed me, and it's something that held me back because I wish I would have kind of hopped on the channel, the YouTube game a lot earlier. But YouTube is just such an amazing platform for any creative, and I know that everybody doesn't have the means to create, you know, at that scale, but it's been life changing for me, and it's honestly the best decision I could have made.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
What's your kind of process when it comes to YouTube? So, for example, for me, like, I film a lot of my behind the scenes myself because I don't have like a dedicated videographer, but I know some people have kind of a videographer that they bring along with them.
hmm
What's your kind of process? Do you design your shoots for YouTube, or do you just film shoots that you've already got planned? What's your kind of idea?
So it's a mixture. So initially, I'll have the ideas, and then I'll film for YouTube, just because, you know, for me, I was finding myself like getting in, I need to shoot for YouTube, and I really didn't want to get in that. Like I felt like my art was going away while doing that. So I was just I've just always tried to stay true to the art, and like, okay, I have this shoot and I'm going to have a camera. I'm going to have a camera there to capture the moment. But I've shot a few videos for YouTube. I'm not gonna lie, like it's, you know, as a creator, especially when you're consistently releasing content weekly, I'm not gonna lie, like it gets difficult. Like I mean, it gets hard. Like especially I know for you, like especially when you're filming videos yourself. Like I commend people who do that because, you know, I didn't realize how tough YouTube like people are blessed with our videos every week, but this is challenging, man. It's challenging to consistently release great material. And you know, I'm sorry. My process. I'm sorry. I can
No,
go
you're good. You're
I can go
good.
all over the place. But so usually I'll have the concept, and then I'll decide if it's a shoot that I want to shoot more behind the scenes, or if I want to shoot more like a visual storytelling situation. Because like I have a lot of behind the scenes style shoots, but I also like have um videos where I've tried to make it a little bit more like visual, like cinematic and storytelling, and those are a little bit more like of an investment, and it just takes more time, and you have to have more people
Yeah.
involved. But luckily, over the period of the last like 6 months, I've gained a buddy. Well, my buddy is just, he's not a videographer, but he's down to hold the camera. And though he like screws up a lot, like he captures what I need to be captured. So, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have him. And then one of my other buddies, Davis, who reached out to me through, you know, my YouTube channel from seeing some of my work. And he lives down the street and he's down to help. So it's great because I I did one or two shoots when I first started, and this is really what made me like respect people like you and people like this guy Bray Hunziker, who like his videos are so damn cinematic and just so visually appealing, and like he does it all by himself. And it's just something that I can't do. I'm gonna just be 100% honest. Like my video, if I had to do everything myself, like my videos would be
For
garbage.
sure. And you touched on speaking to your mentor before you went into YouTube
Hmm.
and started doing that. And do you want to talk a little bit about your mentor? And I know you just put a video out that kind of describes
Yeah,
everything that there is to
yeah,
know,
yeah,
but do you want to kind of
yeah.
recap?
Of course. I just so have. I mean, living in LA, I feel like this freak accident that I like bumped into this guy was just it's kind of the like the typical LA story. Like this is the situations that I feel like a lot of people move to LA for but don't get. And I met Tyler Shields, who is a dope human being and a great photographer. Literally 2 weeks after I made 2 weeks after I made the decision to start doing photography, and I met him on set of a production that my buddy was doing during quarantine, and it was the most genuine situation that I could have like ran myself into. Like I didn't have to email anybody. It was like, oh, you just bought this Mamiya RB67. You have no clue how to work it. Come on, let me show you how to work it. And we literally went in his backyard and I loaded up some Fuji Pro 400H, and we did a test shoot of like his hands, a shovel. Like I think I have some of the test shoots. They're terrible, but I'll send them to you after. I even took a portrait of him in his backyard. Um, and it was so cool because it was funny. I'll never forget. This is when he made me get the prism finder for the RB67 because I was looking down and I was just wobbling the entire time because I wasn't used to seeing things like inverted like that. But anyways, like he has definitely had a huge inspiration and like um yeah, he's had a huge inspiration on my work. And you know, I can definitely say that he's the reason. At the end of the day, like as an artist, we're all born with like our God-given talents, and we have what it takes, and we have the eye. But for me, a lot of the technical stuff with photography, he's like taught me over a period of time. And just having him to be able to critique, like it's funny because when we first met, he's a brutally honest human being, and though I love him to death, like, you know, if I send him a picture of a shoot I just did, he has no problem with telling me, nah, that's garbage, bro. And but he'll say, this is why. This is what you need to do to better this. You know, the idea is there, but the composition or the coloring, or you know, so you know, it's such a dope experience to have, you know, somebody like that in my corner. And um I still assist him till this day. So like for his shoots, I'll assist him. I'll be hands on set for him. And, just seeing him firsthand, how he approaches the craft, was super eye opening. And I try to like emulate that on a very small scale in my work.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those stories which makes me believe that everything happens for a reason. Do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean? It's one of those stories that you hear and you think, well, you were put onto that path for a reason, and you were there for a reason, and all of that. Look, without all of that, would we have your YouTube?
No,
like, would we...
I can
exactly.
I honestly probably wouldn't be realistically taking photography as serious as I am. Like I had the Minolta before I met him, and I was taking pictures of friends and stuff, but it was on a very like casual scale. Like I probably would just be taking pictures for fun of friends, or like, I don't think that I would be putting so much effort into my work if I hadn't met him.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. So like if anyone that's watching this hasn't already seen that video, I'll link it in the description because it's a good one.
Thank you.
It's definitely a good one.
Yes, thank you. Y'all got to check it out.
For sure. And like, I guess finally, what would be your advice for someone starting out in photography or film photography? And yeah, would you have any words of wisdom, I guess?
Wow.
It's a big one,
yeah.
I know.
For me, the most important thing, not only in photography, but in anything that you're trying to do, is getting out in the field and just doing it. And when I first started, I felt myself, which YouTube is a great platform, and I felt myself trying to soak up so much knowledge from videos, but I wasn't going out and getting the experience and gaining the experience that I needed to just get things started. And I get so many like DMs on like my advice, and like, people questioning themselves. And I feel like the only way that you can really progress in an industry like this is practice. Like if you don't practice and you're not willing to step out and do it, you're not going to know what you're capable of. So that's the first thing. And really just being open and not locking yourself in barriers of like, oh, I can't do things on this level, so it won't be good. And that's one thing that I struggled with at first. I saw how large of a scale my mentor was shooting at. And though he's at a totally different level, I would always compare myself to others and like worry about what other people think. And though photography is such a like, you release a photo and you really want that validation of like, wow, this photo is good, and I want other people to think that it's good as well. You really have to just not give a damn. You have to really, as long as you're staying true to your art, you can't give a damn about what other people think. And you have to just create content that makes you happy and that fulfills your heart. And, the people will come. And that's something that I struggled with before. I didn't create and I didn't release material because I was so worried about what other people thought. And honestly, when I stopped having that mentality, it changed my life forever. So just go out, do it. As long as the art is true to you, create it and just release things without any expectation. And I feel like that'll just make you a happy creator, and you'll see how fast you progress with that mentality.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And I think specifically what you were saying about practicing, I think that resonates quite strongly when it comes to film photography, because I think with digital photography, you can kind of see the results obviously a lot quicker and kind of in real time. When it comes to film photography, I think the whole process is definitely a lot of trial and error, and you have to get stuck in before you kind of work out how it works, I guess.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too. Like, I'm glad that you brought that up, because like, yeah, it's both forms of photography, but film photography is for me in a sense is like a bit different than digital, though I haven't even really gotten my feet too wet in the digital game. I've been a little timid, but yes, I agree with you 100%. Practice, especially for film photography, because it's like so prevalent right now. It's like hitting the world so hard, and everybody's like wanting to try that format. So yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. There are all the questions that I have for you.
Thank you, this was so much fun. Yeah, you gotta let me know when you take that flight and come out here to LA. We gotta hang out and shoot some pictures.
For sure, it's gonna happen. I'll make it happen.
Awesome.
When Boris lets us back out again, I'll start saving.
Sounds good.
we'll get it sorted.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is really cool. I've been looking forward to this for so long, so I'm glad we got to get it done.
Yeah, no, me too. I know it's been a little bit up and down. It's mad because like your day is only just starting and mine's about to